All right, now we're on. Now we're on air. Cool.
Can I sum up on air what we had just discussed before you click that?
Yeah. Well, why don't we? There's a couple different points that I want to come back around to, and I'd like to sort of finish up at first what we did last week. So, or what we were talking about last week. So there's two big things. One was the contribution policy is now landed, right? So everybody saw that, I think. The other is that the work that Ben wanted to do with the C-lang stuff has become a bit contentious. So I wanted you guys to talk about that. Particularly the Fedor and Trevor are pretty engaged on that right now.
Okay, so about ceiling stuff, well, it's kind of a bit or aggressive to the source code. So I'm definitely -1 for this, at least in the forms that the Ben is proposing, because it's just totally invasive and changes most of the lines, and it just not the style that we are currently using.
On the
Did he suggest to also change all the JavaScript code?
Well, I don't think so. I think that Slang is still not really that good at JavaScript. So yeah, probably Ben was talking about C++, if I remember it correctly. Yeah.
there are probably better tools for rewriting JavaScript that are written in JavaScript that we could find if we wanted to do that.
Yes, I know, or in Java, I think.
No,
But,
no. I'll mimic Trevor. No.
So
I
wait, so
think
what are we?
what we've been using is the fixed.js style, which is a Java base.
It's fine. It works fine. Like I think our existing JavaScript linting and stuff is like I don't see any reason to fix it. It's not broken.
Yes, I agree with that. And so I think I agree with Ben in the sense that it's really nice to use a format, and because that it takes away
Did everyone?
there. The only problem, of course, right now is that we are we want to be able to merge forward and back with join node. So if we now change everything, that will be really hard. So maybe we should put off on it for a while.
I would suggest putting off any the thing that we like with linting, like we did this big break at like right when I took over actually from Ryan between 0.8 and 0.6, where we said, okay, lint all of the JavaScript, and this is just a breaking change and whatever. Like we're not going to be able to backport merge as easily, but like we had already gotten to a point where that was unlikely to happen anyway. We were about to release 0.8. I think that unless that goes into both joint and node forward, it's kind of a bad idea at this point because it makes it too tricky for us to collaborate. When and if they ever do merge, or if there's or if it gets landed in joint node as well as node forward node, then that's fine. But otherwise, I would say put it off for now. I think that it's a big benefit though long term. I mean, it's definitely something to have on the agenda.
Okay, so I guess we'll basically just backburner it, right? Like for a while, until the future.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay, so coming back to some of the issues that got brought up before we got on the call. So Bert, I think, brought up two issues that are making it hard to work in the repo right now. One is just keeping a good list of issues that you're tackling and getting them referenced properly. And the other, what was it? Oh, the other was like not having a specific release or a goal in mind is really hard to contextualize what's going in. So I think we all we can bring it back up now. But so we're talking about doing source only releases that are called node forward, that are called like 1.0 RC candidates, as to not conflict with anything the joint's doing right now or any of the versioning there. We're just gonna take out this like release candidate space for 1.0, do source only releases, and allow the build people to sort of like figure out more of the build stuff as we go forward. Just to have some staging, right?
Yeah, so the basic idea was to have source-only tagging releases that just go into GitHub's releases feature. And then node source is currently building some some build utility, build process stuff robots that will like automatically see those and start doing automated like CI binary builds, and that gives us, at least for the time being, it'll use their signing keys and stuff, and then basically at that point then we can start doing automated releases on every commit, or binary nightly builds and stuff, and then when we do decide to do a release, you already know everything's going to work and going to install properly because it did the commit right before.
Yeah. I agree. Although, can we bring we I already suggested it. Can we bring Ralph Vag into this meeting so we can talk to him about what the progress is?
Yeah.
He's not online right now. I just pinged him on Slack, and he's not up.
So we should definitely invite him. I think it may be hard to schedule the call, being that he's in Australia, and so once you're stretching the U.S. and Europe and Australia, it just gets kind of hard. But we can talk about rescheduling the meeting. Another thought that I had was that it may be good to have a seat on the TC for just whoever is leading the build effort. Right. So if the build people want to appoint a representative onto the TC, then we could just have them regularly on the calls, and we can let the build repo and the people that are building that decide who that is. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'm down with that. Actually, I mean, it's super important for us, so it's good to have someone on the TC. Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I'm just curious about how this will affect our, voting on the stuff, because yeah, build people certainly has something to say about the stuff that is related to build, but the generic, way the core moves, should it really depend on the, build people decision, or so.
I think they should be I don't think that they should get a vote on the TC, but they should probably be in meetings and have a voice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Mike was also here, who is not officially on the TC. So if there are advisors or people with specific roles joining the meetings, actually that's super helpful.
Yeah, minions, I think is the word you're looking for. Minions.
Another thing we talked about a long while back is if somebody from the Node community ends up on TC39, then we would also want to bring them in as well, and it would be the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
True.
Okay. All right. So I'll write that up into the contribution policy, and then invite Rod, or I'll just log an issue in the build thing and say whoever wants to represent should come over. Then the next thing, so the other issue that Bert had, I don't think that we've addressed yet, which is how do you kind of keep hold of all the issues that you have? One suggestion, and Bert, think about this. We've been using it in organizing the conferences, and it's worked pretty well. Where you create a GitHub issue, and you use that checkbox feature where you have a bunch of line items, and then you just knock through each one and check it off. And you could just if you have say all the bugs that you want to do for an RC, you could use that as the to-do list to knock it out, and it would also be sort of public and visible and collaborative with everybody else. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. For now, that's actually what I'm going to do. But maybe it's different for me. What I'd like to do is have an overview of what's going on or what needs to be done. And the situation that we're now in is that we have about 750 open issues and 250 open pull requests or something in joint Node. And I don't think there's anybody that really knows or that has a clear overview what are duplicates, what are related issues, what is stuff that nobody has cared about for a year, and so we can more or less ignore it. Of course, for the time being, we can work that way. I think in the long term, it would be really helpful if we could structure the way we work in a slightly more professional way. And so there's basically a funnel that new issues go through, where someone triage and decides it's going into this bucket. And this bucket is the prime responsibility for Bert, and then I get to see the stuff that's only related to what I can fix. And so Isaac, I see that you're suggesting Waffle. We just inside Strong Loop started using Waffle. It's nice. Our Scrum manager doesn't like it, but I think the devs like it a lot. But if you try Waffle with join Node, you will notice that there's like it creates a gigantic backlog. One of the features that I'm really missing here is basically to say, well, there are 10 issues and they're more or less the same, or like they require an integrated view on things. Because what you will find now is that there's like more than 10 issues that are related to the MSI installer doesn't work for me, and there's a handful that say, well, standard out is not flushed when Node is killed, for example. Like this is a known issue. It's been there for a long time, and there's different perspectives on the bug, but they're all the same issue. And so it's really tedious and also not very effective to tackle all these issues one by one.
Yeah.
Because now you're basically building a big patchwork of like stopgap solutions, where really what you want to do is like take them all, have sort of an integrated vision, and then fix them once and for all, and also close all the issues, so not just one by one. And so if anybody knows tooling that does this that integrates with GitHub, that would be really nice.
I think the bottom line is that you need to and a project with node size and reach. If you look at projects that actually where this is done well or where this actually works out well, it always ultimately comes down to somebody taking on the building of a support organization. And what that means is you hire somebody and it's their job, and their job is to do tech support for Node. Triage incoming issues, point users at where the fix is, ask them for crash dumps, do all of that kind of grunt work, for lack of a better term, of kind of figuring out where things need to go. And when that's not your job and you feel like you have to do it, you get burnt out really fast. And I think one definite goal that I have for this project is to get that kind of staffing for Node, and I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but it's something we're pursuing.
Well, I think it's hard currently because we don't have the ability to add basically people that can close out issues on the place where all the issues are. But we can certainly add people that help triage and work on stuff in the repo that we do control. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's just going to take a little while before we can get there. One thing that I'm going to bring up, it's been brought to my attention that people really want a place to talk about broad community stuff, not really core so much, but really collaborate on really broad community stuff. And you can see, where we have some efforts around the welcome and early docs. We have collaboration now around the build system. But people sort of want a broader one. And so I created a community repo for those kinds of issues. And what was suggested is that I have code that identifies everybody on GitHub that's ever touched a Node package. We could literally invite everybody to that repo, everybody into a community team that is on that repo. And that would bring a flood of people in sort of talking about different stuff and getting engaged. And if once we prime that with a lot of good people, we want to bring up stuff like this and drawing more people in to help us triage and work on this stuff, then we can do that. But it's we want to build some momentum around it first.
So sorry for changing the topic, but I wanted to return to Isaac's question. So I think what we really need is not a support team, so not some guys that will do some robot work. So we really need a bot that will ask for usual details. So normally, in the V8 project or in Chromium or stuff like that, you just file all the relevant stuff in the issue, and every relevant thing has its own required field in a form to submit the issue. But since we can't really do this with GitHub, I think we could just write some bot who will, ask users to annotate their issue to. No, Isaac. No, I don't really enjoy moving to Google Code for, at least for, reachability reasons. So,
sure.
People, yeah. Well, anyway, so if all issues will be annotated in some specific way, having, I don't know, some markdown annotation for, C++ tech trace or for S-trace data or so something like that, and we could just ask people to annotate all missing things
Yeah, I don't know
to
if
provide us info.
I don't know if I agree that like doing that with a bot is actually the best way to approach it, though. It comes across as kind of um, cold and inhuman to users who are already frustrated and having problems with things, right? It's like the phone tree problem when you call the insurance company. Like, I think ultimately this is going to take some amount of like just human elbow grease to kind of get everything working, or to just keep that under control. And it's not like it's going to stop either. Like, even if even if there was something that required that you put strace data, like we're still going to get a dozen different copies of the same bug, right? And there's no bot that's going to be smart enough to say, oh, this is actually this other bug. If you look at attempts to do that, like what Homebrew uses when there's crashes, it's like they're always just like ludicrously wrong. Really, what you need is a human being who cares about the user, saying, we care about you, and here's how to solve your problem. And
Well, yeah, I think Isaac. I mean, in a way, like it would be nice, but like in absence of elbow grease, like having some sort of like automated response, not necessarily even completely automated, but like maybe canned answers, or like this type of question requires information, like requires more of this information. Can you please provide that?
I think in absence of a dedicated resource, then the question is like, how do we do that without burning ourselves out? And one thing that I've seen work there is, a time boxed, like 2 or 3 of us sit down and triage issues for 1 hour, and that's it. And we're not going to triage issues all day long. We're not going to triage issues until they're gone. We're going to do this like 1 hour a week. And I think that's something that will like kind of help. I don't know the best way to kind of schedule and do that, but
1 hour a week sounds like a godsend. For me, it usually ends up being about 1 day a week to go through and triage bugs.
Right, and
ask for additional information and cross-reference fixes.
Because you feel like you have to do all of them, and like that's the problem. If you time box it,
well, nobody else is doing it.
Right, exactly. But if you time box it and it's like with you're sitting there with somebody else who's also doing it, it makes it a lot less of a burnout kind of thing.
Well, I think the issue, like the problem Trevor has is also my issue. I don't think, Trevor, I think you do a lot, and I think you may see all the issues. But what I cannot do is like look at all the issues that you haven't seen yet, which would be really helpful in our case, right? Because there's usually no need for 2 people to triage the same issue, and I think that is something that we really have to figure out. Otherwise, it ends up being the situation where I have to look at every issue, and Trevor looks at every issue, and I'll be like, okay, Trevor already responded, but that requires me to click on every link, like look what's going on. It would be really nice if all that would not be necessary.
So what you could also do is actually pull up all of the issues that don't have any labels or milestones or assignees, and we could set it up so that basically triaging means you assign it to somebody, you give it a label, even if the label is like, this has been triaged and we're awaiting info or something like that.
I mean, this is all a really good idea, but it's nothing that we can do until we own the repo with all the issues in it. So, I mean, like I think like the first thing first, like we need to actually like do this release thing, and like get some releases going and some momentum going in the repo that we do own in order to even implement a lot of this. And all we're going to have really to deal with all the issues and the backlog that's in Joyent is like just whatever hack that we come up with in the next like month or so.
So just another idea to throw on you guys. So basically, we could probably having automated replies is indeed non-human, and people will be scared of it and frustrated. So what we could probably also do to still have some sort of help from the computers that we are using is to send some sort of automatic responses when we add a tag. So like, if this is a C++ plus TLS bug, then some stuff like stack trace or TCP dump data or something like this is recurred. If this is a well, for example, some generic Unix bug, so it's a trace has recurred and stuff like that. So it's just some idea, so it's probably not worth discussing it right now, indeed, because we don't have access to the repo. Well, yeah.
Also, like that's a really good idea because also it for a particular area, then the people who are currently kind of area experts could get @replied in that sort of default comment, right?
Yeah, Isaac, indeed, yeah. Sorry, probably my language is not perfect. Okay, so also one additional question that I wanted to raise up today is V8 version that we would like to use in 0.12. So right now I have updated it to 3.28, but the latest right now is 3.30, and like 3.29 has many harmony features without a flag. So like many people do care about it either.
Never mind.
What is the stability of 3.29 and 3.30? Like, is it still beta or alpha, whatever, canary?
I guess I need to install Google Chrome to figure it out, right?
They seem fairly stable. Some things they introduced, like a lot of people want 3.29 because generators will no longer be hidden behind a flag.
Well, and so that would be a good reason for me, actually. I mean, I would really like to have generators, and with our current release timeline, we might have, otherwise generators will be postponed by like 1.5 years more. It would be a little bit sad.
And the only reason I care about 3.29 is because it fixes a bug that conflicts with IR Hydra. We were able to backport a patch, but I hate the idea of having to constantly reapply that patch for every 3.28 update. So I'm all for updating to 3.29, though there are a couple specifics that need to be addressed. There's one about that even hits 3.28, but we should really address it, is V8 basically handed over thread support for the garbage collector over to the user, and that needs to be implemented via the V8 platform header. And then basically it says, hey, we're going to GC, this is going to be a long-lived GC, you can do it in a thread, this is a short-lived GC, you need to do it in the main thread, and then basically we're responsible for calling the garbage collector, or telling V8 when it can be called. And right now we're using, like, V8 has a built-in that can be used for backwards compatibility, but they want platform-dependent implementations. For us, that should be fairly simple since we have libuv, but that should be addressed.
Okay, so...
But it sounds like not too difficult, though.
Yeah. So basically, if no one has any questions, I would like to ask you to vote on chat or in voice. So just I will know if I need to work on it or like stash it.
All right. I'm also for it, unless we find like showstoppers or like stuff that makes it super difficult. Or, but like in absence of any knowledge about that, like I would like to keep up to date with V8, and the extra harmony stuff is really nice.
Real quick though, Fedor, ever since the upgrade to 3.28, my MSVC really blows up.
Really?
Yeah, like I can't build on Windows anymore.
I'll take a look tomorrow. Usually those things are easy to fix.
Thanks. Yeah, it's complaining like can't find v8.h.
So,
okay.
Fyodor, how long do you think it'll take to get that running?
Well, it should be quite easy. So, like, the biggest blocker was a debugger agent that has disappeared in recent V8. So, this problem is already fixed in 0.12 branch. And yeah, some platform specifics should be, not so hard to do, as Trevor already said. Yeah. So it's probably a matter of a couple of days.
Also, we should take into account, I was looking at the header changes, and while a lot of backward stuff will work, this can probably be done after release, but there are new APIs that we should consider replacing our old APIs with, if that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm just wondering. So we want to do a release. Should we set a deadline of the end of the month for this first release? And one of the goals for the release, and one of the things that we box into it, is this upgrade.
Yeah,
Yes.
it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Okay. So for the release, should we dedicate somebody to just like kind of keeping their head around it? And I nominate Bert. Just to sort of lead it and just to just knock, like, basically create an issue, figure out all the different issues that are going to go into it, all that kind of stuff. Do you want to do that? Like, I nominate you. Does anybody have any other nominations or whatnot?
I'm down with doing it. Yes. Fedora has his doubts. Has his doubts.
So sorry, I got distracted. What was the question?
No, I don't. Well, the first question was, can we set a deadline of a first release for the end of the month, and this V8 change to make it into that release? Like one of the things slated for that release. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And the second part was we need somebody to just sort of like keep their head around that release, and I nominated Bert.
Yeah.
Okay,
So let's say we do it in 3 weeks. So like the TC call, on the Thursday the 30th should be about when we make the first release, or it should be done by then, or maybe we do it like immediately after or something. That sounds like a good plan. 3 weeks should be enough.
Okay, and then we have to be open to maybe rescheduling when the weeklies happen, just because of the if we're adding people. So.
Yes, I'm open to that.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else?
Real quick, Isaac and I were discussing a commit script. I can just write it in JavaScript, but basically it will just ask for specific things. I'm a little anal about proper commits and whatnot, so it can be as simple as is this a patch? Is this a PR? If so, what's the URL? Blah, 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 blah. But at least there'll be a standardized way of creating the commit message. Just like I know V8 does the same thing. And okay, Fedora, you're for it.
I think silent
Okay.
agreement. It's silent agreement.
I go for it. Although for me it would be really nice if it also works on Windows.
Yeah, that's Bert. That's why the options were either to write it in Python or JavaScript. The benefit of writing it in JavaScript is that we can have it so that it won't work if the build fails, which is probably great. And it's like a nice little kind of check there. And basically, the idea is to get everything like the commit sign off and the whatever other stuff reviewed by pull request URL, etc., so that we can just kind of run that script and give it a pull request URL, and then it'll pull the patch, apply it, do all the things, run all the tests, add the sign off stuff and the reviewed by links. Which I think you can probably. I think, Trevor, I'd be happy to kind of bang on it a little bit with you, just to kind of make it really easy to use and kind of be the test case, because I am super anal about not spending a lot of time landing commits. I have shorthands for everything, because I have no tolerance for doing extra work, and you're equally anal about getting everything right in the repository. So I think between the two of us, we should be able to get a script that's really great. I think that we can probably pull the pull rec information in JSON from the GitHub URL from their public GitHub API, and we can see which committers actually commented on the pull request and pre-populate some of that info, and then just and then it'll just pull up the git commit -s with the commit message kind of already pre-filled, and then then you can edit it in your editor if you want to like tinker with that.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put something together.
I think that'd be awesome.
Sounds good. I have two more things to bring up. Like first, a very practical question. Of course, there's also still people that land stuff in joint Node. Like, is anybody right now doing that work of like seeing what's landing and maybe like pulling things over or merging? I think do we want to merge joint Node? I think that's the most practical solution.
I think the best solution would be to merge it as a no fast forward commit, so that at least we can see exactly where it came from, and that kind of keeps all of the things that have our sign offs and stuff separate from the stuff in joint Node, which might not have sign offs.
Actually, I already merged joint Node into Node forward once, so yeah.
Yeah, so we should probably just keep doing that, right? Because if we can also rebase, but then we totally lose we lose track of stuff that's in one repo and not the other very quickly. So
yeah, I'd prefer not to rebase. I'd prefer to do regular merges.
All right.
It seems like it would be logical for whoever is in charge of the current release to do that. And I'd like to rotate that so that we don't burn anybody out, like being in charge of releases. So maybe does that sound like a good idea? Just whoever's in charge of the current release is doing that merge.
Well, so by the time we do the release, I will do a final check and like pull over more stuff if needed. But so for the time being, I would suggest if anybody is like, oh, I would like to bring this patch over, just do a merge. Or like be a little bit diligent, check what's actually going in, and like do a merge if necessary, and push that back. I think it should be okay for anyone to do that. I had something else, and which is related to this call actually. So like this is now on air. I wonder if anybody is watching or listening, because it must be very boring to them. But like suppose people are like, is there a back channel? Can they sort of like what if I'm listening and like cringy or I have a suggestion, whatever? How can they talk back to us?
So currently we are on air, but we don't allow the live feed just because it's kind of unstable, and it like as many technical problems as we already have. We don't want to like increase them. So it's not public streaming, it's private, but the video gets recorded and then people can see it afterwards. That's how it currently works.
Mm-hmm. And so if someone watches it back, what would be a suggested way to talk back to the TC or whatever?
We could make it the Node forward channel on IRC.
Yeah, that works.
I like using the IRC channel, and I think if we try the live stream, like even if it is crashy and people have problems with it, like at least it's something. It'll probably work for some people. My other question is the group chat doesn't show up in the video, does it?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so we might want to copy that and kind of include that with the video as well.
Yeah, or just try to stop using it.
Well, it's tricky, right? Because sometimes like your audio will be all screwy, or Chrome might be crashing, or somebody might be in the middle of talking. You just want to say +1.
Yeah, or you can do that thing that you do when somebody asks a question at a Q&A that's being recorded, where you just repeat it back when you're talking.
Yep.
Sounds good.
So let's just read whole backlog.
Let's not.
I think that can be 10 PM 2x in it.
At the end of each meeting, we do a dramatic reading of the chat backlog.
Yeah,
but we should have like David Attenborough do it, like not one of us. Like it doesn't sound.
Somebody in a world where the chat backlog is not part of the video. One man. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So
That's all I got.
You got a good voice for it. Oh, some other thing. If we suggest people to go to the Node forward channel on RC, do we want logging in there and that kind of stuff? Like I don't.
I am always a fan of logging in IRC channels. Oh, Bert, that's another thing. Can you get your IRC logger to be in the NPM channel also?
Well, I no longer have control over it because
God, that is
someone had joined pulled my
the machines.
Who still has access to that stuff? Like, can anybody? Trevor, Bert, do you have access to it?
I no longer have access. I mean, I operated the thing for a long time, and I wrote it, but like I can no longer log into
I know. I can't manage IR secretary anymore either. There's like a bug and a fix that I want to push, and I've like pinged Trevor to be like, hey, or I pinged TJ to be like, hey, like let me go do this thing, and he just responded with silence. So.
Oh right. Yeah. So like we can also move it over to different infrastructure. I mean, I think I can just. I know enough vulnerability since LARP to take it down and then restart it somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I have my IRC logging 100% of the time on a tiny $5 a month DigitalOcean server. I mean, I have backlogs for freaking ever stored up on my server. It's not that hard to do.
I can make that $5 free, so this is a really solvable problem.
It is. It is. I think though the thing of like having it the one that I really like the channel logging that that Bert put together, that thing that's on like logs.libuv.org and logs.nodejs.org. Like it just needs to be logging npm as well.
Yeah, I'll take some time and like move it to different infrastructure and then add that. There's also a bunch of stale channels that I think we should remove. So it takes some work. Sure. Like I think next week should be it will happen.
Sweet.
Probably not tomorrow.
Sweet. I have my IRC client logging, but detach is a little flaky and sometimes it falls over. So.
All right. Well, decided. Cool.
All right, I'll try to sum this up and link to the video and create an issue and create a couple issues for some of the outstanding stuff that we were just talking about. So.
Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, bye.
Good to see you. See you next week.
See y'all.